Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're working on 2021 Hyundai Kona rear brake pad and rotor replacement slash installation, whatever you want to call it. You guys know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe. Let's get on with the video. Yesterday I did the driver's side. Today I'm gonna work on the passenger side rear brakes. I'm going to proceed with removing the wheel and we'll go from there. Here's what the rear looks like with the wheel removed. And we're going to remove the caliper and the caliper bracket, but before we do that, we have to come back here and disconnect this little guy, wire harness. Now it has like a spring-loaded clip in the back. Let me see if I can get a shot of it. Like that. The reason we're removing that is because it's gonna be in our way for the emergency brake. Cause I can't do this without removing this whole contraption right here. It is fixed onto the caliper, and in order to not damage the ABS wire harness, it's just better to remove it and save you a whole lot of trouble and headache. To start removing the caliper, you have two guide pin bolts. Well, this one's a guide pin. This one's a regular bolt. They're both 14 millimeter. So we can get back here with an impact on the lower bolt, and this is the only one we need to remove. Then we can rotate the caliper up and then pull it out. And to tell you what you need, that was probably overkill, but whatever. As you can see, I'm rotating the caliper upwards, and we have to clear with this little bit has to clear the brake pad. We're going to rotate it up like that and then pull it back that way. And this is why we removed our wire harness earlier that connects to that, because this knocks up against it and we don't want to damage it. So we're clear past our brake pad, and then I'm going to pull back. And it's kind of awkward at an angle, but it's doable. Alright, and that is how you remove the caliper without having to mess with that emergency brake contraption. And then we can just rest it like that. Now we come over here, we have to remove our hardware. Is wedge flat screwdriver right there, and the same right here. That's what it looks like. And now you can try and remove the brake pads from the caliper bracket while the caliper bracket is still mounted, but I found it easier to just remove the whole thing and then remove the brake pads off of the caliper bracket. To remove the caliper mounted bracket, you got two bolts right here, one right here and one down there, and they are also 14 millimeter. Now you can probably get a ratchet and socket back here, but I found it best to use one of these. I have a long reach ratcheting wrench. Alright, and we slide this on out. Okay, we're gonna try with our screwdriver first. But no, salt and grime get up in there. You can't really do anything about it. Because if I try any harder, I'm just gonna wallow that out, and that's what we don't want. I have like a 3-pound sledgehammer. And then a screwdriver is not ideal to do this with. They usually have special tools for this, but seeing as to how I don't have one. And we're gonna knock that a few times to try and break it loose. Let's give that a try. Nope, still nothing. Alright, that one came undone. And we were able to save the screw without wallowing it out from trying too hard with an impact. Or even with the screwdriver, really. Let's try this again. So I'll smash my hand. Oh no. Alright. And that is how to properly remove the screws so you don't damage them. Or worse, wallow them out. Now you can't get them out. Now you gotta drill them out. Alright, now. Alright, and that is our rotor removed. This part I'm not going to show, but it would be a good idea to get up in there with a wire brush and take some compressed air to it, and then get your brake parts cleaner, spray that down, get it nice and clean. Okay, we have our caliper mounting bracket here, and to remove the brake pads, I just squeeze them together. Like that. Not all brake pad kits come with the hardware, so if yours doesn't, you will have to reuse the old hardware, so don't lose it. What you're gonna have to do is take a wire brush in here and just get some of that grime off, and then blow it out with some compressed air. My brake pad kit did come with new hardware, so I'm just gonna pop those off. I'm still going to brush the contact points in here for a clean mating surface. We're ready to install our new brake rotor. You want to clean it off with some brake parts cleaner, because they do come over from the factory and you don't want that on your brake pads. Now you have to make sure to align the holes for the screws to the hub right here. So that's gonna be, like this. And you have drilled and slotted rotors. You also have to make sure that you have the correct one on the correct side. Most of the time they're going to be labeled. And to keep that in place, we're going to put our screws on. I'm just going to put a little bit, just a tiny bit of anti-seize right here, so they don't stick like the previous ones. And also put anti-seize on the threads as well. Alright, and I'm only going to very lightly hand tighten them because they're not there to screw the rotor onto the hub. They're only there to hold them in place for installation, and we don't want to hand tighten them because it's going to be too difficult to remove them in the future, 2 years from now, or whenever you replace them. So it's in, and we're gonna back it out a bit like that, and back it out. Right there. We're ready to install our hardware on the caliper mounting bracket. So it's not, you don't just want to clip them on there. You gotta make sure you align this gap with this gap, otherwise you'll be scraping the rotor. See, because if you put it like this without paying attention, it's misaligned it's misaligned with the gap on the mounting bracket, so the hardware is going to scrape on the rotor as soon as you rotate it. So right there. Like that. See, now you have a nice gap that aligns with the gap on the mounting bracket. Now for the other side, same thing. Like that. Now take your caliper grease. Most of the time it's included with the brake pads, if not just your regular grease. And I'm gonna put it all on the contact points where the brake pads are gonna sit. Alright, you should have one with a brake pad wear sensor and then one without. The one with the sensor goes on the back side, so if the caliper is mounted like that, like this, the one with the sensor is going to go on the back side. So once you orient it correctly, for the front brake pad, bringing it in an angle and then down like that. Ready to install this back on the hub. So You may have to wiggle it around to actually start threading through it, because technically the mounting bracket is not supposed to rest on the actual rotor. It's supposed to be kind of floating or hovering over it. Alright, we are ready to tighten down. Unfortunately, I don't have the torque specs for the mounting bracket or the caliper, so I'm just gonna hand tighten them with the wrench as close as I can to what it was previously. It feels like 40 pound-feet of torque, to be honest. Now for the rest of our hardware. These 2 points go in these 2 little holes on the brake pads. Like that. Alright. And that'll keep your brake pads in place from popping out of the actual mounting bracket. Okay, we're ready to install our caliper back on. I'm gonna wipe that guide pin, put new grease. We have to press that piston back into the caliper before we install it. And there's a special tool to press it back in, but seeing as to how I don't have it, I use the C-clamp, but I also use some needle nose pliers. And what you want to do is get the needle nose pliers inside these 2 holes and rotate it to get it to press back inside the caliper. Let's give it a try. And it's more tedious and time consuming, but if you don't have the tool and you do have some needle nose pliers, this is the way to do it. All right. After you press your piston back inside the caliper, we're ready to install it. We'll apply some grease to the guide pin. Alright, and then we bring it in like this at an angle. Alright. Make sure your hardware is on there because it might pop back out. Okay. Alright, you want to press the brake pads in, seeing as to how your hardware is pushing them out. You want to press them in to be able to rotate your caliper down like that. Now before I finish mounting this and put the bolt on the bottom side, you want to come back here and visually look to make sure your rubber boot that is around your piston for the caliper is not caught with the brake pad. Okay, once you make sure the rubber boot that is around your piston for the brake caliper is not pinched, we're ready to install our bolt on the bottom. Okay. Don't forget your wire harness. Make sure it clicks and then pull up to make sure it doesn't come off nice and secure. Okay, that pretty much wraps up the installation process. All I need to do is mount my tire back on, get it off the jack stands, and take it out for a test drive. Make sure you pump the brake a few times before you actually take off. And you're gonna have to do multiple hard stops to set the brakes in, brake pads in. If you like the video, give it a like, give a comment, share it with someone that has a Kona maybe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.